Hello, everybody. What's up? I know it said 4:05, but I'm here right on the dot. I am Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back, guys. Come on in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, get a membership if you can. All right, take a look back there. That is the actual medical jail where Nick Reiner is currently housed, right? We talked about this previously, and this guy's sleeping with the rats, and it's very, very cold. All right, so I want you guys to understand a not guilty plea. Reason by insanity is what it looks like, and it already looked like the defense was going to take that turn, but now we got a wrench thrown into the mix, and Alan Jackson, the man of the hour, went ahead and quit. We ask why. Why did Nick Reiner's lawyer quit? Insanity defense signals and shocking cause of death, which they sealed, guys. I haven't been on here for a minute about the Reiners and the double homicide. So today, I'm going to fill you all in on why Nick Reiner's lawyer quit, more than likely. A little bit, few different scenarios, but the insanity defense is a huge possibility at this point of what to expect throughout the trial. And we'll talk about that, what that means. Now, I know a lot of people are making suppositions about money, right? Which we talked about. They were using the grandpa's inheritance. So I don't want you guys to just get so caught up thinking it's all about the money, although I think that has something to do with it. So come on in, guys. I know I came a few minutes early because I'm ready. Yesterday I saw the updates. I was ready to update you, but I had the another case. Tomorrow, same thing. I've got Ashley Buzzard back in court, but I also got a Madeline Soto episodes. I got a dilemma tomorrow. I got 2 episodes coming at y'all, and we'll see what we're gonna do because I also kind of want to get some call in so you guys can call in and tell me what you think and how you feel on a lovely Friday. All right, that's tomorrow, but today we're back. Why Nick Reiner's lawyer quit, insanity defense signals at a not guilty plea, and shocking cause of death, which we haven't talked about here, and they're sealing it. Why are they sealing it? Well, let's talk about that. What's up, Casey? Good to see you, my friend. How you doing, Cheeky? Kel, good to see you. Sadie's mama, always a pleasure. Maggie, how are you? Michelle says the Columbus police chief answered questions today regarding the couple we discussed yesterday. Well, awesome. If you can send that on over to me, that would be awesome. In the meantime, guys, per usual, trigger warning in this case. Now, I've got this up. Behind me is where Nick is being housed. And on the side of me, these are the arrests, right? We know he was arrested in connection with his parents' death. And now we know he's the only person that probably will be arrested because, well, right, they have all the evidence. So, that being said, let's get started on why, how, what, who, and all that stuff. Again, trigger warning, it's pretty brutal how it went down and what he did. And yes, you know what, beauty lover, he is out of that turtle suit. They released him from the turtle shell and the unaliving. But I think he's gonna play it up a bit because he wants to get that not guilty plea by reason of insanity. All right. So we're gonna get into it. You guys think you might know what's going down here, but think again because we got a lot more coming up today. Cool, Chris, how you doing? Jamie, Casey, good to see you. It's not just all about the money, though, and we're going to talk about that. That probably is a big factor, and I believe the other children don't want to pay their inheritance all for this, which would be millions of dollars, by the way, for a case like this, one that is looking at a not guilty by insanity, by reason of insanity. That can mean millions of dollars, and you'll hear about that today. So let's keep getting into this. Let's go deeper. Let's find out how he killed them, what the times of death, all the stuff that we didn't hear, we're going to get into now. All right, I got your email, Julie. I've got so many emails. I'm not sure I'll be able to respond, but we'll get into it in the next episode that you messaged me. Good to see you, Patricia. How you doing? You guys come on in, hit that like button. It's free to do so. I've got my goal up. If you guys want to get a membership, gift a membership, super chatter, super sticker, let's go. All right, guys, let's just hop right into it then. Nick Reiner's lawyer, Alan Jackson, had no choice but to quit, according to him. All right, let's put this on up and let's get going on this. What's up, Shadow? Good to see you, my friend. All right. Today, right? Today at 1:01 p.m., why Nick Reiner's lawyer, Alan Jackson, had no choice but to quit, according to him. All right. Lawyers are weighing in on why Nick Reiner's high-powered attorney, Alan Jackson, was forced to quit his murder case. At Wednesday's arraignment, Jackson, whose high-profile client include Kevin Spacey, Karen Reed, and others, told the residing judge that he had no choice but to withdraw due to circumstances beyond our control, is what he said, and beyond Nick's control. Now, California and New York entertainment lawyer Lisa Bonner told Page Six that Jackson could have withdrawn due to a conflict of interest. All right. Remember what we're going for, a not guilty by reason of insanity. If you look at his phrase, we have no choice and the circumstances beyond our control, that's likely an ethical or legal conflict. I would most likely say it's a conflict of interest, but you guys, we're also going to get into the money portion of it as well. That is always going to be a factor in anybody's life, right? You need money to survive, and you got to continue on getting the money that you're used to getting. So we can't just give charity to this guy, right? Can't do that. Not in Hollywood. Hope this helps towards your goal. Thank you, Chris. Always. Everything helps to the goal, and then it comes right back to y'all. So thank you so much for that. Kathy, I hope you're feeling better. Please do relax. All right, Mama Sage, always good to see you. All right, now listen, guys. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but I think it's a little bit deeper than the money situation, but we'll get into that. All right, so Alan Jackson all suited and booted, ready to go. Again, I believe that he absolutely started this campaign as a defense campaign to have the potential future jurors see Nick as mentally unstable and possibly not even guilty due to that. Now, a lawyer must withdraw if there are certain conflicts. The lawyer continued, this could be something like an attorney or the firm previously representing someone involved in the case, a witness, family member, or someone who could be key to the party. Now, that would be circumstances beyond our control and Nick's. Now, judging from his carefully worded statement, I would say it's a conflict of interest, according to a lawyer. Now, after the arraignment, Jackson told reporters, my team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick and his best interest. In fact, we know we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding the case. All right, well, we're going to hear him. We're going to hear him out. We're going to hear and see different clips. So there he is again, looking all fresh, like he went and got Botoxed up, suited, booted. Got the new facial do, right? And we're gonna listen to some of his words, so I don't have to read all of this. But the lawyer that's talking about it is what I want to tell you. All right. Bonner, the lawyer named Bonner, claimed that Jackson was referring to the legal default position of innocent until proven guilty, when Jackson said, we've learned and you can take this to the bank. It is that pursuant to the law in the state, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. And he said, print that. All right. Now, he's reaffirming the presumption of innocence. This lawyer, Bonner, believes he's not gotten any admission of guilt from Nick, and he's preserving all defenses going forward. A defense lawyer always says, my client is not guilty. This country is built on presumption of innocence. All right. Now, Beverly Hills defense attorney Adam Michael Sachs agreed that the reason is likely a conflict of interest and believes he will hire a private lawyer after this. Right now, he has been assigned a public defender, which we're going to talk about. That was assigned immediately. All right, so there he was in court. There's a lot of different things people said in court. He kind of grinned at one point, made some little gestures, but not much going on. All right, not much going on, not a lot of expressions, and there's no cameras in the court that can capture him on film. Tracy, good to see you. Jamie says, out of curiosity, will anyone be able to help financially if you're a sibling? And you know what, Jamie, right out the gate, I said absolutely not. I was stunned that the parents were using their grandpa's inheritance to pay for his defense. All right. So I don't think many people would. Tiff, how you doing? Choo choo. There's your super chat. Oh, wow. You didn't say anything more than that? You didn't want to get my attention even further? Well, thank you. Thank you, Tiff. Appreciate that toward the gold. Choo choo. Wesley, how you doing? All right, guys, this guy, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is probably going to be in the headlines for a while, right? All right, now the New York Post attributed the potential reasons to finances. So y'all are going to see different sides. Now, Nima Rahmani, a former California prosecutor, he said, in the business, we can say Mr. Green didn't show up. Alan Jackson is one of the best, but for this case, he's going to charge at least a 7-figure retainer. All right, so we're talking about millions to get started and then even more millions to complete the case. Now, Nick Reiner doesn't have the money. If he did, he wouldn't have been living with his parents or them in the guest house. And under the California Slayer statute, if you kill your parents, you're disinherited, which is what we've also talked about. Now, at the arraignment, Los Angeles County Public Defender Kimberly Green was named as his new defense lawyer. All right, which means that they're able to prove that he's indigent, right? That he can't afford a lawyer. Now, guys, we're looking at February 23rd for the new arraignment date. This is the second time the arraignment has been delayed. All right, there's his family. That's Rob. That's Michelle. That's creepy looking weirdo Nick back there, and brother and sister. All right, there's only two of them in the picture. I know they have another sister. All right, an older one. All right, so Nick arrived to court with a shaved face, shaved head, facial hair, and sunken in eyes as he wore a brown jumpsuit and had shackles on his hands and feet, and rightfully so. No more turtle suit. The only thing that he said was, yeah, I agree with that regarding the arraignment date, the February 23rd. Now, a rep for Nick's siblings, Jake and Romy Reiner, who did not attend the hearing, told Page 6 in a statement on Wednesday that they had the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings. All right, so we've got a couple different things here talking about conflict of interest and possibly financial. Now, Rob and Michele Reiner were found stabbed to death in their Brentwood home on December 14th. The LA County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the couple died from multiple sharp force injuries and ruled the manner of death a homicide, and they sealed it. They sealed the death, the cause of death, and the medical examiner's report. We still have details on it, and I'm going to tell you about it. Now, Nick was later arrested the same day and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, they say or the death penalty, but that's probably not going to happen since we know in California they're not pushing that right now. Right, so he's being held without bail at Twin Tower Correctional Facilities in Los Angeles. Now, let's take a look at if I can get this without the commercial, I will. Let's take a look and listen to what Alan Jackson has to say, and the prosecutor and the family. Well, the family gave a written statement. I'll tell you about that. Let's get into this.
Very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts.
And again, this is a complete, in my opinion, campaign for the innocence of Nick Reiner. I believe that the Reiners have treated Alan Jackson very well over the time. I'm sure Alan Jackson had some kind of knowledge and maybe even a relationship through somebody else with Rob Reiner. And so I think there's some kind of, something in him that has that, even though I'm not representing you, I want you to not have the harshest penalty. So we'll see how that goes. My girl Tiff said I was being a good girl. He didn't even give me a comment about the case. All right. Thank you, though. I appreciate you. You know that.
Of the circumstances surrounding.
By the way, this is a very, very, very dramatic press conference. All right. This is it's not a press conference. It's kind of a press conference for after and to tell people what he did. Very dramatic, Alan Jackson. Good job. And that's what his job is. Be dramatic and let people think, let the future jurors think that Alan Jackson thinks he's innocent or he knows he is.
This case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything.
Again, he's just making this dramatic, guys. I'm telling you, listen to every word he says. The words that he's saying aren't much. There's not a lot of context to him. What he's really saying is he's not guilty. Take my word for it, and let's start this campaign. But that's all he's doing, really. It's just a bunch of fluff and stuff. So I wonder how the public defender is going to match up to this. Yes, Janet. Yes.
And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests.
Literally?
This matter,
really?
Top to bottom, back to front.
Yep.
What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank.
Take it to the bank.
Is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that.
I wonder how much they had to pay him to say that. Now, again, there had to be some sort of retainer fee. And then after that, maybe he didn't get any more towards that. And so he decided, but we're going to get into that. It's just, this is ridiculous, in my opinion.
We wish him the very, very best moving forward. And that's all I have today.
All right, I'm going to go a little past this. I don't want to watch the stuff that... But let's just listen to him for a minute. We're not going to stay in here too long. We got a lot of things to cover, all right? I don't even think we can hear this well.
That we recover and we get, our counsel on behalf of Mr. Reiner gets, and that is discoverable. We'll comply with our counsel will comply with all discovery obligations at that time.
Address the council's request to provide a copy to the people.
That's the point. We think that should not be done because that would implicate ongoing investigative efforts by the defense, and it would compromise Mr. Reiner's right to a fair trial and his right to maintain his investigation with some level of confidence or confidentiality, I should say.
But at this time, the court would just seal it until the next court hearing date.
Thank you.
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record.
All right. So, I mean, you get it. He's withdrawing. We don't need to see all this and hear the bad audio. I've got so much more for you. So I really wanted you just to hear the dramatics of his statement and the beginning of a campaign for the media to see that he's not innocent or that he's not guilty. But I pop right onto the next clip for you to show you what the death certificate said, and now they've sealed them. So you guys tell me. And what's up, beauty lover? Indy Isham, good to see y'all rolling in. Come on in. Sadie's mama says, choo choo. All right, look, how we popped on the last clip just seconds ago to say that he is not guilty. You can take that to the bank. Now, look at this. How are you not guilty when you look at these death certificates that are now sealed, by the way, very brutal. Homicide December 14th, within minutes of receiving multiple sharp force injuries. And by the way, he slashed both of their necks with a knife, one after the other, his parents. And then he went away and went to a hotel and cleaned up and hid stuff. And that is not somebody that's not guilty by reason of insanity, in my opinion. All right. So when you think not guilty, let's think about this and what he did. Foxy, thank you so much for the guilty of crime membership. Let's listen, because we're not going to see these until the judge unseals these records.
County Department of Public Health state that the couple died on Sunday, December 14th, within minutes after receiving, quote, multiple sharp force injuries with a knife by another person. That person is allegedly the couple's troubled adult son, Nick. The 32-year-old is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He's looking at life in prison without parole or even the death penalty if he's convicted. The tragic downfall of Nick Reiner reads like a cautionary tale for other parents dealing with children struggling with addiction.
And guys, we're going to talk a lot about his mental health today and the drugs that they changed him to. And I think that's where Alan Jackson's going, and anybody on his defense team is going right for the medication that was just changed within a week before he did these murders. And I think they're going to blame it on that. Now, why didn't the mom wake up? We don't know whose life he took first, right? And you got to remember, it's still their son. So I bet they were very, very surprised. That's probably not a good word, but surprised.
Nick's troubles were widely known. He'd been in and out of rehab at least 18 times, starting when he was just 15 years old. Add to that new reports that he'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia and had his medication changed recently.
Yep.
And it's clear the situation in the Reiners' Brentwood home was complex and potentially combustible. Rob and Michele were open about their tireless efforts to help their son. The 2015 movie that Nick wrote and his father directed, called Being Charlie, peeled back the curtain on his addiction struggles. But it also shed some light on Rob and Michele's anguish and regret in how they dealt with them. In one LA...
That was a terrible movie, by the way. It was really boring, and I think it was really just self-indulgent for Nick, right? I think Rob just was like, hey, let me get a project going with him and boost him up. And I respect that, but it just wasn't a great movie. And I do wonder if they're going to use that as some sort of defense to say, look, they knew he had mental health issues. Look at what they wrote about. Look, I wonder if they are going to reflect on that. Nick's actions show that he knows right from wrong. Right. Agreed. In my opinion, too.
Times interview, Rob said, quote, when Nick would tell us rehab wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. And because the people had diplomas on their wall, we listened to them when we should have been listening to our son. That regret that made it even into that movie, Being Charlie, as Rob told comedian Paul Mercurio in a podcast interview about the film.
We even reflected in the film when the father says, I listen to anybody with a desk and a diploma because you're...
Does anyone think that this is going to be used against them? Just put a 1 in chat if you think they're going to use this whole scenario against him to say, look at his dad from the grave is telling you that they knew that this wasn't working and they just changed the medication and they knew. All right. Well, before the death certificates, it did slip out that one died. And it's going to tell you that right now, Nina. That's actually what I'm telling you is what slipped out. One died a minute after the other, literally. All right, listen up.
Frightened,
you don't know what to do. Yeah,
you don't know what to do. Your main responsibility as a parent is to keep your child safe. You're scared, so you latch on to experts. And what I learned is that I know my son better. My wife knows my son better than experts do, and that he is smart. And and I have to listen to him.
So was it a mistake, a critical mistake for the desperate parents to listen to the experts instead of their addicted son? And if well-resourced parents like Rob and Michele Reiner were still struggling to find a way forward, what are other parents supposed to do?
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download.
All right, so that didn't really give me what I wanted, and I thought it was going to. Let me just quickly show you before this, because I thought that was going to say this. I have a lot going on today. There's a lot of different articles and things. Now, let me just tell you, Michele and Rob Reiner's autopsy reports are blocked from release. All right, they're now blocked, but it did say that they died within a minute of each other, literally. The autopsy report for Rob and Michele Reiner have been blocked from release. The LA County Medical Examiner's Office announced on Monday there's a security hold that was placed by LAPD and approved by a judge because their deaths are part of an ongoing investigation. Now, while the cause and manner of death were previously released on these, due to the court order, the information is no longer available. No other case information or records, including the medical examiner report, can be released or posted until further notice. But the death certificate details were released on December 23rd. All right. And the document stating that the Reiners had died within minutes of receiving multiple sharp force injuries with a knife by another. They also said that both of their necks were slashed, which you'll hear people talking about. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Reiners' bodies were also cremated, right, at Mount Sinai Mortuary, and the remains were returned to Jake Reiner, their 34-year-old son. All right. Now, Nick was arrested on 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances in connection. You guys know they were found dead December 14th. 2025 in their Los Angeles home. Yesterday was the arraignment that's now been pushed out twice for February 23rd. All right. So that gives you that. We're not going to get much more information there. But we are going to talk about now the whole details in the case. Alan Jackson quits and the homicidal med change before the killings. All right. Let's get
Hey
into
everybody,
it.
I'm Ashley Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. This is not just a Hollywood tragedy. It is not just a double celebrity murder case of the decade. But when that same lawyer bolts, even before the client is arraigned, that, my friend, is news. And that's the jaw-dropping twist that just happened in Los Angeles courtroom. Rob Reiner's son, Nick Reiner, was right there in front of a judge Wednesday, January 7th, answering to 2 counts of first-degree murder. And in court, Nick Reiner basically had to sit there and watch right alongside everyone else, while his high-powered, famous attorney, Alan Jackson, told the court that he's out.
On behalf of Working Jackson and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, we ask to withdraw as counsel's record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation we've provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved.
The judge agreed. And instead,
now, guys, I do think that it's partially financial, but there's something else that's going on in there as well, in my opinion, and you're going to hear this throughout, right? Yeah, Reiner was smirking in court, they said, according to the people that were doing the drawing. So one of the big reasons, definitely, Sherlock Homegirl, is financial, but I think it's deeper than that. All right.
Jackson, Nick Reiner now has a public defender.
Public defender. Mic drop. Mic drop. Okay, now listen, it's no TMZ has been coming out with all the latest information, and they're all over News Nation, Court TV, Law and Crime. So she got TMZ on here, and we're going to talk about that and talk about how close this guy really is to the case and a lot of things, a lot of suppositions about what happened yesterday.
It was Kimberly Green. I don't know her. I don't know her background. I suspect I will get to know her very well in the coming months. But
Kimberly Green is the new public defender.
The judge did do a delay here and push the arraignment more than a month to February 23rd. And officially, that was that. Alan Jackson's out. But not before he went to the mics outside of the court. And this now ex-attorney of Nick Reiner, Alan Jackson, he had a lot more to say about this case. And I don't know if you'll be surprised by it, but you be the judge.
This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. circumstances beyond.
All right, we heard that. Circumstances beyond, he's not going to really tell us, hey, you know what? I didn't get paid. The siblings and the family decided they don't want to deplete their inheritance. So he's not going to say that, right?
Printed about his family.
Right, we don't need to hear take that to the bank again.
Pursuant to the laws of this.
But I do want to hear what they
Alan
have
Jackson
to say.
says stuff like that. It makes headlines because it's Alan Jackson,
Yes.
Karen Reed's lawyer.
Yes.
But also because he's not wrong. It's a loaded thing to say that he's not guilty of murder. But
right.
I think you all know by now, because you're true crime community, that murder has certain elements, right? You can kill somebody, right? You can do something horrible and you can be not guilty of murder by reason.
Now, listen, initially, the reason that they hired Alan Jackson, and I'm quoting the family, quote unquote, said they want to see their brother not get the death penalty, basically. And they were going to use their grandpa's inheritance money. That's the money that was not tied up. And now they're changing their story quite a bit. And, you know, they've given a statement, but their statement, they haven't given it like on record for news to see, but they've given a written statement. Let me see. It says, okay, so the court appointed Deputy Public Defender Kimberly Green. So yes, they went from Alan Jackson, the guy that just got Karen Reed off, to Kimberly Green, some public defender that we don't even know who it is. Now, the family said in a written statement released through a spokesperson, the Reiner family said that they have the utmost trust in the legal process and will continue. And will not be commenting further at this time. They also ask for their privacy as they continue to grieve. So, I mean, many high profile cases can, where lawyers change, can stem from anything from a financial conflict to ethical constraints or new information that came in that just caused Jackson to withdraw. All right. Well, February 23rd, 2026, there's going to be another hearing where Reiner is expected to enter into a plea. And at that time, guys, we are going to hear if he's going to say not guilty by reason of insanity. We're heavily speculating. And I agree with that. Midnight Lace, he deserves a public defender. I would not want those family members to pay those millions of dollars to defend somebody that did that to my parents or my family, right?
Of insanity. So, he just left those words off when he said not guilty of this murder. Yeah. By reason of insanity. And I know that a lot of people get very anxious and upset about that defense because it sounds like a cop-out. It sounds like you're trying to get away with murder by reason of insanity. Lock them up.
Mm-hmm.
But there is just so much to it. And if you're against it, well, I've got news for you. This will be happy, music to your ears. It basically almost never works. People do not prevail in insanity defenses. It's brought up in less than 1%, fewer than 1% of the murder cases out there, and it prevails in even less of a percentage. So
can I tell you something? I think there's a mixed bag here. Okay. I think there's a mixed bag. Debbie says, I think it's code for Alan Jackson told them no way in hell they're getting innocent because of insanity or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, Debbie, that prompted me to tell you guys that I believe it's a mixed bag here. I think that Alan Jackson told them that this is what I'm going for. I'm going to go for a not guilty plea by reason of insanity. But I got to tell you, after researching this, guys, and you'll see, experts say that a not guilty by reason of insanity is a much longer process and it costs a lot more because you have to hire more expert witnesses. So that means you're not only paying Alan Jackson $2 million a year, let's say, however long it drags out, but you've got to pay these experts to come in, and those experts can be anywhere from 100,000 to who knows, sky's the limit. Okay. So I believe that he told the family that this is the defense that I see fit to go for. And if you want to go for that, it's going to be this, and this. And we got to get this expert because that's the guy that I work with. That other expert does this. He'll tell you that's the one and the bill kept going up and up and up and up. So I think there's a combination of things here that come into play. All right. And I don't think that he will get that, but you just never know. What if somebody on the jury knows the Reiners? We just don't know.
Are successful with an insanity defense.
Thank you. Thank you,
That
Michele.
said, there's some stuff ahead that might blow your mind. Really interesting stuff I didn't see coming. But let me go here. A spokesperson for the family said, and I quote, "They have the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings." End quote. I get it. This family is in torment, right? Mom and dad are dead. Brother is facing the worst punishment possible other than death, right? So yeah, if I were them, I would say no comment too. I wouldn't even know which end is up at this point. But there's so much more about this case that has yet to be revealed.
Yep.
And earlier on my News Nation show, Banfield, I talked to my old friend Harvey Levin, and his
right. And this is the TMZ guy. Now, I listened to probably 5 different TMZ shows today to try to get you that information that we're talking about, not guilty plea and what that means. All right. So we're going to get into that right now. Hold on. This was the best information I can find in one place about it. Hold on. What did she got?
I can lock or unlock my.
We got an ad here. Thank you.
My house.
Hold on.
Like simply saying.
My internet has been terrible, guys.
Self is telling that you've got to imagine.
Hold on. Let me start. I want to start from wherever he starts talking from. I don't want to miss it.
Things I can say and things that I just can't.
Okay.
But I will say this, that the Reiner family, when you look at their statement saying what we want justice, essentially. But they never define what justice is. And I think that in itself is telling that you've got to imagine that this family has so many conflicting emotions. On the one hand, Nick Reiner is their flesh and blood. On the other, the flesh and blood of their parents was basically butchered in that home, courtesy of Nick Reiner.
And guys, you got to remember too, those family members did not have the details initially at the time of arrest. And at the time of arrest, somebody was obviously seeking out an attorney to help. And when they did, they brought Alan Jackson in. Maybe he knows somebody. Maybe they said, oh, he just got Karen Reed off, so that's going to work. But they didn't. What they didn't have is the medical examiner's report. They didn't have the autopsy. They didn't get to see how brutal of a job that this guy did to his parents and then walked away, rented a hotel, cleaned up. They didn't see that. They didn't know at the time that he slit both of their throats. And within 60 to 90 seconds, they were both dead. All right. I don't know how people realize how expensive attorneys are. The trust could possibly already be gone. Yes, Mo. That's a possibility too. Allison, how you doing? Good to see you. Enjoy your content every time. Well, thank you guys. I got so many episodes, so many things I want to share with you today.
Pretty clear.
Right.
And so for that family to process the loss of their parents, the way they were killed, who killed them, and then to have some understanding of what was going on in Nick Reiner's world. And there is a big story there, Ashley. It is a slew of emotions. And so when you look for one answer to this, I don't think you're going to find it.
There is no one answer. That's why I'm on here for an hour and a half today telling you what I really think based on the information that I've gathered, right? I've been covering this case and a lot of others. And guys, it just stays in my head until I can get it out with you. Now, Wyatt, if Nick fired him in a fit, there's no obligation to anything. He would have to go to the judge and say, this is what happened and I'm going to withdraw or whatever. There's a process to it. I don't think that's the case at all, but I do think that the big possibility is that they didn't know exactly what happened initially, and they didn't know the defense that was going to be this complicated, and it is. But I got to tell you, and thank you, Indy Esham. I don't know why you said that, but hey, and Millie, good to see you, my friend. All right, then say I've been fired. I'd like Mark Geragos has been talking about this too. I'd like to see Mark Geragos take on the case. He probably won't, but I guess you never know. Well, listen, they still have to pay for witness or expert witnesses to say that he is in this mental, hole after that, after the change. And yeah, Sarah Boone's not a good example of really anything. You said that it was like Ashley Banfield told Reiner estate is worth 200 billion. That's what we're listening to right now. All right.
Yeah, I am so interested in what you just said regarding the justice. Our family wants justice. It could mean justice for Nick. It could mean justice for Rob and Michele. And I'm so curious about the money. You and me, we both.
Okay, before we even get into this, I know what I was going to say. So listen up, guys. I have family members that have been to prison. Okay. One being my brother, one being my nephew. That was one of the big reasons why when I saw Deb and Chris Stearns being crucified for Stephen Stearns, I said, wait a minute, that's not fair. There's lots of parents that can't control what their children are doing and they go commit crimes, and you can't sit there and call their mom a pedo lover or look at this, disgusting. You can't, then you're saying that about my mom because my brother robbed somebody or my nephew robbed somebody. Now listen here, my nephew was facing 27 years. He had just turned 18. My mom gave him a almost brand new Jeep for his 18th birthday. And within weeks, he got arrested and his car never came back. All right. I met with his public defender that had a stack of papers this big and told me, you're looking at 27 years. He had just turned 18. Okay. I hired an attorney and we paid $10,000 to start and $5,000 and $5,000 or whatever. And we got him 5 years. So then my nephew was out by the time he was like literally 18, 19, 20, 23 years old. So what I'm saying, it makes a huge difference whether you have a public defender or whether you have somebody like Alan Jackson. Keep that in mind. All right. Keep that in mind. It's a huge night and day situation here.
Follow the money because that's what we've been taught as journalists to do. Do you think that the Reiner family cut him off and said, you're not accessing the Reiner money for a big, expensive lawyer?
I don't think that's what happened here. Based on what I know, makes sense. I know why you're saying it. Crossed my mind.
See, that's like that most simple, straightforward answer here. And this guy knows a lot of people in the Hollywood area. He has a lot of inside information. And so many news sources are going straight to TMZ. And he's saying this. So I'm like, okay, all right, Jay, you're right. Mr. and Mrs. Stearns are not the ones that did the horrible things. Absolutely not. And anybody that says that's just ridiculous, right? You can't help what your kid does. That's like saying, hey, my son came to me and said he's gay. Oh, well, because your son's gay. You did it. You made your son gay. That's ridiculous. That's ludicrous. Maggie, good to see you. Deb, I didn't even know you were here. We sure saw that when Stefan went to trial. They're just as good when they are stretched so thin. Right. Absolutely. And they just don't care, frankly, as much. They have a lot going on.
Mine too. I don't think that's what happened here.
Have you had a chance to talk to Alan Jackson at all and find out what's behind this move?
Yep.
I think what's behind the move is a very complex issue with his family, that they have lost their parents in a brutal way at the hands of their flesh and blood. So, again, when you think about them saying what we want is justice, they never define justice. And frankly, Ashley, from what I'm hearing, that's not an easy thing for them to define. They want justice for their parents, but there's also something big that is going on with Nick in terms of mental health. It is why Alan Jackson got in front of the cameras after he withdrew today.
And you see how passionate this guy is. That's why I like him. He's like me. He's on fire and he's ready to report the real freaking news. Not okay, this is the easy route. He didn't have the money. He quit. I'm telling you, it goes much deeper. Yes, Holly, absolutely. And Shane, preach on, my friend. Preach on. $5,000 for 20 minutes. That's about right. You got it. What's up, Clementine? Good to see you. How you doing? Whoever handles the perpetrator's family, that way is just a hate-filled person. Well, Clementine, I hate to say this then, the world of YouTube has a bunch of those then. No, thank you.
On Wednesday, and said that Nick Reiner will be found not guilty of murder. He is saying that not because he's arguing that the Reiners did not die at the hands of Nick. He's saying it because where this case has been going, Ashley, is not guilty by reason of insanity. And that's where this case is heading. And it has to do with mental health. And it has to do with allegations that the mental health system has shockingly failed Rob, Michele, and Nick Reiner.
Well, I know that your special that's coming out on Friday, TMZ investigates the Reiner murders, what really happened. You've uncovered some critical evidence, I think, to the very point you're making right.
Okay, so we're going to continue that. We're going to talk about his medication. We've got a lot more discussions coming up so that you guys can really understand what's going on here. And, you know, I'm not going to pick this case up again until something significant happens because, well, I'm not. You know what? I need to have, like, just really good information to give you. And I'm waiting for it. Saucy Skins, got your email. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, let's keep going. Let's
Right
listen
now,
to
and that is
what
not guilty to some people.
Let's listen what else he's found out.
Doesn't incorporate the not guilty by reason of insanity. Doesn't mean you didn't commit the crime. It just means you're not mentally capable of being guilty by reason of law. So can you share anything or at least tell us?
Because I think that unless we get some jury that's from outer space, I don't see how you can follow the timeline and see that this guy did the things he did and then he walked away, went to the store, bought a, you know, whatever. He did all the things that somebody that would someone that would do premeditated murder would do. So yes, if you're schizophrenic and you change your prescription and you're taking street drugs, yes, but then how are you so capable to think about renting a hotel, think about showering and cleaning up, think about covering the blinds, think about walking to the store and doing, it's just not possible, in my opinion.
A little bit about what you've uncovered in the special?
I can be specific. So a month before the murders, Nick was on antipsychotic meds. Nick had been diagnosed around 2020 with a form of schizophrenia. We know this. It is called schizoaffective disorder. It is a severe form of schizophrenia that not only involves psychosis, delusions, but also involves severe mood disorders. And when you combine the two, it becomes volcanic. So Nick had been on.
And guys, he was already diagnosed with all of that, which I agree. I mean, I've seen many of his interviews and he's a weirdo, guys. He's awkward. He says things at the wrong time, which is part of awkward, says things at the wrong time, almost smiles weirdly on the wrong things that people say. And then I just, there's no connection for me. Harvey, wrong as fuck. What are you saying?
Antipsychotic meds for several years. And a month before the murders, what we are being told is those meds were working. They were working fine. There is for some reason, his doctors changed the meds and it sent him into orbit. He became delusional. He became dangerous. The Reiners saw it. They were alarmed. Yep. It built and built and built the month before the murders. And it all revolved around a change in the meds. Now, what I am told, Ashley, I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. What I'm told is that there was absolutely no justification to change the meds. And the reason it was changed, I am told, would shock you, would absolutely shock you.
And we'll stop for a second to find out what that reason is. And you're right, Wyatt, med changes are rough. All right. You say you have ASD, but schizophrenia med changes are tough. And then, guys, we just hit 111 in chat. So say a prayer that the Reiners do get justice. And remember, Rob Reiner and Michele also, they have other children and family members that are also victims in this case. So say a prayer that we get the best outcome in this case and money doesn't buy everything. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
Why you can't even look at logic to understand it.
Why he changes
what it is specifically, my sources will not say. but
What?
they know something about the change in these meds. And I have confirmed this with others too, that the meds did change, and he just went off the rails. And
Yep.
so
Well.
there is something about that change that directly connects to Nick's state the night of those murders.
And guys, that may be the exact piece of evidence that Alan Jackson is referring to that tells people, take that to the bank. He's going to be, or he's not guilty. It could be that one key piece of information, right? And we're not going to get that because, well, we're not even supposed to have records from, HIPAA law. We're not supposed to have any of those records. We're not supposed to know what medication he took or how he switched or how long or what. But Amy, you summed it up. It seems like he was being reckless with his meds and street drugs, and the Reiners had to pay. Again, there was a fight that night, and everybody knows it. Conan O'Brien, everybody knows what happened. And then he continued on to that. It wasn't like everyone was just hanging out, eating dinner, and he jumped over the table and slashed their throats. And then when the cop showed up, he was sitting there playing in blood. It was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. All right. That's like the complete opposite of what happened. Thank you, Mom.
Which may be the reason Alan Jackson went out with a bang and said, I can tell you definitively, he had very strident language, that Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder, which, again, remind everybody, it doesn't mean not guilty of committing them, just by reason of insanity, which leads me to my next question. Without Alan Jackson there, he's got a public defender. But do you expect this public defender to stay in place long, or do you think some other high-octane attorney is going to step up?
That's interesting.
If this defense is used, I don't see how the public defender can do this, because as you know, that in cases like this, you need expert witnesses. This is complicated. He was in rehab 18 times. There are all sorts of problems that you and I have not even discussed involving those 18 stints in rehab, about what the rehab facilities did and didn't do. And there's a big story there. So they're going to need a lot of expert witnesses. We are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the experts, not to mention.
And does that make sense to you guys? Think about these trials, okay? Think about the trials, and think about the people that you see, these high-profile people, and sometimes they're not so high-profile. You get an expert like Dr. Bodden, right? If you guys saw the Corey Mitchell case, Dr. Bodden went up there, and Dr. Bodden used to be the best money could buy. And now it's like he's probably a budget expert. He did terrible. He should retire. Point being, just one expert witness could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And I've never been around somebody in a full-blown psychosis, and I'm sure it is scary, but I can imagine what goes down with that. And he could have been in a full-blown psychosis, but he had been in 18 different rehabs, and he had been continuously being treated. He knew public defender means means Nick's broke ass unconditional ATM cancel. What's up, Nikki? Good to see you. A lot of people are speculating that. Patricia, I did get your email, and it all comes down to speculation right now. I see the email saying Nick Reiner's lawyer's sudden decision to quit is being speculated due to financial reasons. There's no solidification to any of this because we all heard what he said. And what he said was Nick Reiner is not guilty.
What a lawyer might cost. And I don't know that the public defender has the resources to do that. So exactly. I honestly don't see this being handled long-term by the public defender. Will another lawyer step in? If I had to guess, the answer would be yes. And we just have to see how this plays. I think money is an issue here. And it's not that the Reiners don't have the money. Rob Reiner was worth a fortune. But, right now there is an estate, there are family members, there are feelings. So I think you got to see how this all plays out. And I think money, could become a factor here. But it's money mixed with feelings. And that gets really.
And there you go. I mean, he summed it up. Money mixed with feelings. All right. That witch says Nick was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder as a child. And there's part of it that can mean exactly what happened. He lashed out, he changed his meds, and he was taking other meds, and he did that. And then he intermittent explosion says for itself. I don't have the full definition, but you guys get it. But I think it is a combination, honestly, of money and feelings. And I think once the family members, particularly the siblings, found out how their parents died, how gruesome it really was, I think feelings and financial decisions really came into play. Trishy, what's up, girl? You say Alan Jackson made the statement in order to prevent his stepping down as evidence of Nick's guilt. And I agree 110%. He did that to preserve the right for Nick to get a fair defense. If he had said anything else, Trishy, then we can use that against him. Anything could be used against him for anything else that he said. So, I mean, that was a perfect saying. I'm sure he's got that down.
Really complicated.
There is one thing when it comes to insanity. There is another thing when it comes to competency. And competency is the gateway to walk into a courtroom in the first place. Is there any chance that Nick Reiner is going to be ruled incompetent and can't even stand trial?
Interesting.
There is a big chance. And it has to do with what we talked about a few minutes ago, which is that Nick is still not stabilized from these drugs. He's now being treated by jail doctors, and these drugs are not working. In order to be competent to stand trial, you have to be able to assist in your own defense. I have real questions about.
Well, I think that's part of it, Nikki. I think that buyer's remorse is absolutely part of it. I think once they realized not only the magnitude of the size of this trial that's going for a not guilty, but then what he did. Now, when you start looking at what a sibling did and you realize that your brother slashed your parents' throats and they died within minutes of each other, and someone comes to you and says, hey, we can get him off on a not guilty, but you're going to have to pay $2 million up front. Every 6 months is another $2 million. And we need 5 different experts. This guy starts at 100,000. It depends how long. And you start adding that up and you realize what happened. Yes, I think it's very much more complicated and convoluted than just saying it was money or it was, one particular thing. Marie, thank you so much. Hello, Jay, Mods, and Crime Crew. I was late, but caught up now. I do appreciate you. I'll say to that, choo choo. Thank you.
Whether Nick Reiner at this point is capable of doing that.
Well, you also have to understand the charges against you. And if he's in that kind of psychosis, he may not even know that his parents are dead. I mean, this is a high bar, even though people don't think it is. It kept Elizabeth Smart's captors out of court for the better part of a decade.
Well, I can only talk about certain things right now, Ashley, that we're going to have in the documentary. But I will say this about what you just said. Even if somebody knows what they did, I'll give you an example. There's a man named David Carmichael who was in Canada, and
don't worry, when we're done with this part and we're speculating that, we're going to take a look at what happened today as well. All right, what Nick was wearing, what happened, and what experts are saying about it. But I really want you to understand my position in this and how I feel and what I think based on all the information coming in. Because I'll be covering this case.
He strangled his 11-year-old son. He was on an antidepressant. He became psychotic. And he not only, he strangled him in a hotel room, put him on the bed, watched television for 6 hours, and called the police and said, I just killed my 11-year-old son. So David Carmichael knew exactly what he had done. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, and the judge accepted it. So you can know what you did. But a lot of people.
That'd be funny if he turned around and said, shut up, I'm doing an interview over here. Those people in the background are all laughing and stuff. And yes, it was very well documented that he was smirking in court and he only said a few words. So I'm sure that's probably correct. He's weird, he's awkward, and we know he has mental health issues. Why would he be any different in court? Right? Now, I mean, I guess he could be. It depends on what medication he's on.
In a psychosis do it because of a delusion that they're doing it to save the person. They're doing it because in their mind, that person has become an ominous threat, something like that. So even if they know what they've done, that doesn't mean they're still competent to stand trial. It has to do with understanding that what the case against them is, whether they can assist in that case, help the lawyer, and that's an issue. But don't think it's just about not understanding what you've actually done.
No, what I'm always fascinated by is the circumstances that bring certain people into courtrooms where they do rule them incompetent. Oftentimes, they don't even know what's going on around them. I mean, it can be so bad, and we don't know the situation with Nick, but we know it's bad. Let's move to the possibility that he jumps over.
Well, let's do this. Let's look at Taylor
for competency, and it is ruled that he is competent to stand.
Let's look at Taylor Schabusiness. Does anyone not know who that is? Taylor Schabusiness decapitated her boyfriend, and then she cut up his body parts and did sex things to it. And she told them. She took the leg and put it in a crock pot box. She did all kinds of weird stuff with his body parts, and his mom found a head in a bucket. She did not get a not guilty by reason of insanity. None of that. She is in court, and she's crazy as I mean, I don't if that's not the definition of crazy, I don't know what is. So think of it that way. You guys know who Schabusiness is, right? Okay, so think about what she did, and then look at this. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah, all right. If that's not the definition of insanity, I don't know what is. Foxy says there's 2 in LA County, 1 Norwalk, and 1 Pasadena. It's much nicer. Are you talking about a I don't know. I missed it. Okay.
And trial. Well, now there's a whole other kettle of fish to attack, and that is, does he know right from wrong? Right. That's a big one. And is he able to assist in his defense?
Exactly.
And one of the issues with Nick Reiner's pattern after the murders is that he took off. He got a hotel room. He washed himself off. Those are really, really difficult facts to get past if you're trying to establish that he didn't know right from wrong.
Right.
Okay. I'm not trying to be contentious today because you and I have known each other for years, but I will argue with you on that because.
But here's the thing is that Nick can also be considered that can be a possibility for defense as well, because he was also taking multiple things with his medication that he had just changed. So, I mean, you can go through and pick any little thing that you want to. The bottom line is that I think if we're looking at the definition of insanity or not guilty by reason of insanity, it's hard to get that. All right. It's hard to get to that goal, to get not guilty by reason of insanity. She is the one that attacked the lawyer and was recently she was recently in court for attacking a guard as well. Right. She attacked a couple of lawyers. She attacked the first one and then the second one that looked similar. Weird. That lady's
knowing right
weird.
from wrong is not an essential element of the insanity defense.
Wow.
The insanity defense means that you don't understand the nature and quality of the act. David Carmichael, who I just mentioned, knew that he killed his son. He also called the police and said that he believed he would end up in prison for the rest of his life because he felt what he did was morally right, even though he felt it was legally wrong. So David Carmichael knew exactly what he had done. He knew it was against the law. He did it because of his delusion, yet they found him not guilty by reason of insanity. Similarly with Nick, you're right. Nick fled. Nick went to a hotel in Santa Monica.
Well, we don't know that. We're only speculating, Mo, that he was taking other substances with that. Now, another substance can literally mean marijuana. You mix marijuana with some psychotic drug, and then you have a shot of alcohol. Anyway, so no, we did not get his test results or any of that. We didn't get drug test results. We're making that assumption based on what the experts are talking about here. And he did change his medication real close to right before he did this, right? We don't know if it was a week, a month, what, but it takes about.
Watch the documentary, but there are other things he did.
Something's coming, yeah. Something's coming. I can tell you're going to drop something really, okay. You got to come back on this show in the next couple of days, because I can sense you're holding back a little bit.
You always got
well, listen, I will say this, Harvey. Some states have 2 prongs, right? Some states have the McNaughton rule, which means you got to have 2 prongs, which is I don't know the difference between right and wrong, and I don't understand the charges against me. There are 2 different, but California may be different. In any case, I can see that you've got something more. So will you come back on the show?
Of course I will.
I always love talking to you because you're.
Well, he's got a lot more, right? There's a lot of different TMZ episodes that came out today with bits and pieces of information, but let's take a look in court today and how he looked and the things going on. I don't know about Kemper. I followed Kemper, but I don't know if Kemper was let out or what. You guys let me know in chat. Tony, how you doing? Joanna, what's up? How you doing? Where are you guys rolling in from? Lori, I see you. Where's everybody coming from? How you doing? All right, let's take a look at this today in court, and we'll continue the conversations. I have a lot of cases to update you on. There's so many cases I want to cover right now. I wish I could cover them all today. All right, let's keep going. I really want to cover that. I really want to cover the Ashley Buzzard case. Guys, she looks terrible. She was in court, and I love that so much for her. Her hair's growing out, and it looks like that clown from The Simpsons. I can't remember the clown's name, but she looks like the clown from The Simpsons. Oh, Krusty the Clown is what she looks like. All right, let's see if I can get this to play. Sunken eyes, facial hair. Now, if only it will play. Oh, come on. This is not good, guys. Can you even see me right now? Buzzard's boots. Did you guys see that? I've got the Buzzard case to cover, and oh my goodness.
Wearing that protective vest that we saw him wearing at his first court hearing. After the hearing was over, his family issued a statement saying, quote, they have the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings. Now, we know Nick Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, withdrew from the case, and we're going to get to that a little bit later in our show. But right now, let's talk more about the impact that this case has had on Hollywood. I want to bring in now a special guest who's been following.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about this. This just came out minutes before I started. I did download it. Yes, he shaved his head too, and I noticed he looks a lot thinner in the pictures that they drew. Okay, so if you look at him in some of the pictures prior to this, I have a feeling that he's probably not eating a lot. And you got to remember, he just got released from the turtle suit, the unaliving. And if you look at that back there, that's actually where he's being housed. All right, let's keep going. See if we can get this to play again.
In this case, from the outset, she is the breaking news reporter for The Guardian. Danny Angiano is with us, waking up early on the West Coast. Danny, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want to start with the impact on Hollywood, this case and the reach that Rob Reiner had, in his career, the legacy that he has left. Talk to us a little bit, please, about what you've observed in the course of your reporting on this one.
Absolutely. Well, the killings have had just a really significant impact on Hollywood. It came right before the holidays, and Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner were a legendary couple in Hollywood. I mean, I think so many people can think of a Rob Reiner movie that's their favorite. And so these were two really beloved legendary figures. And I think
they were, but we're going to go a little forward. This is not, we know this. We know this. Hold on.
O'Brien's house, and that Nick Reiner was behaving unusually and making people uncomfortable.
Okay, so there's that. That was starting. We're going to start at the party real quick. All right. What's up, Coffee and Dog Studios? How you doing? Thank you so much, Lynn from Vermont. There's no chef in prison, at least no free private chef. Right. He was actually getting on the chunkier side, guys. When you saw those pictures of him where he had like a goatee, his hair was kind of growing out. He looked unkempt, right? All right, let's keep going. I'm shocked to find out that Harvey Levin is 75 years old. Y'all are funny. All right. Start at the Conan O'Brien party.
That's kind of been the reporting that's going around, and that there was some kind of conflict or argument underway there that unfolded that other guests heard. And, it was well known that that Nick Reiner, I think, had some troubles. And then just a few hours later, they were killed.
Right. And we know he's been a troubled young man for many years, Danny, and your reporting has touched on that. Would you kind of walk us through how great the effort was by Rob and Michele Reiner to get him on the right path?
By all accounts, these were two parents who loved their children dearly. And in Nick Reiner's case, he was someone who had spoken openly about his struggles with addiction and with mental health issues. And his parents tried incredibly hard.
And that's why I do believe, guys, I absolutely believe that insanity defense with a not guilty insanity defense is one that is being hammered to the family, or was being hammered to the family by Alan Jackson. And again, that's always going to be a longer process with much more experts. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, going from Alan Jackson to a public defender and what experts are going to bring in. They probably gave him a lecture about his behavior at the party, right? Cool. And Chris, you guys, at the end of this, I don't know if y'all are interested at all, but there is an update in the Melody Buzzard case, and she was in court. She looks like Krusty the Clown. Preliminary hearing is still months away, but I do have information to report on. So let me know in chat if you still want me to, after this, continue. I'm going to give you an update on the Buzzard case and then do the Madeline Soto case tomorrow, because I can't do 2 cases a day. Well, I can, but I can do Buzzard at the end of this, and then I can do the Madeline Soto, and we can do call-ins tomorrow. Thank you, Cool Chris. I do appreciate you. All right. They left the party early. They did. All right. You guys are always going to say yes, aren't you? You're always going to say, Jay, stay on here.
Hard to get him the help that he needed. Numerous trips to rehab, and then 10 or so years ago, him and his father actually collaborated on a movie that was sort of based on, his life and the challenges that he faced. And in doing so, we learned a lot about just how much effort they put forth, and, the fact that oftentimes recovery in these things isn't linear, and that they didn't give up on their son. They tried really, really hard to help him.
Yeah, most definitely. And Danny, in terms of any indications of this, that homicides would occur, we know legally Nick Reiner is cloaked in the
Well, listen, if we do the Buzzard case today, then we can do the Madeline Soto case tomorrow and set the freaking record straight about Jen Soto. And even if she never gets arrested, we need to paint her in the light of Casey Anthony, because I'm never going to be okay with the fact that Jen Soto was able to walk away. But then also at the same time, man, people hate me covering the Madeline Soto case. Every time I cover the Madeline Soto case, I get bad reviews, guys. So I just want you to know that. I was reading some reviews about myself today, and it's never a good idea. Of course, it was about the Madeline Soto case, right? And apparently, my channel does shitty, and I have purchased all of you subs here. All right, what about the 5 charges the FBI thinks she should be prosecuted? Yes, Deborah, yes, but you should see the feedback whenever I do that. Apparently, Deb Stearns and I are profiting off of this case, and we're grifting off of her son together. So maybe I do want to do that case tomorrow just so I can piss the haters off for the weekend. We'll see. Just do all 4 cases today. We all love being all right, let's keep going so we can get to it. My goodness.
Presumption of innocence, we know that. Investigators have indicated they're very confident that it was him, that he did this. They're not looking for anybody else. They believe that this was him and him alone who acted here. Were there any indications of him becoming violent or looking to target Rob and Michele Reiner?
We have not heard anything about any prior history of violence or any acts of violence committed against them in the past. We have seen reports that there were previous police calls to the house in, I believe, 2019, and it seems as if those were connected to mental health, but there hasn't been any reporting so far that would suggest there was a history of violence. That said, law enforcement and the DA do seem very confident that this was.
Well, don't forget, guys, you guys can hit that like button and you can hype my videos after this. And then you can always leave amazing comments too, right? All right. So let's get through this, and then we'll hop on to the to the Buzzard case, and I'll give you guys an update on that because they can't wait. And I don't know why nobody's covering it.
As the perpetrator, they arrested him, within hours of the killings, and the DA has said he's confident that there will be a conviction.
Right. Danny Angiano, breaking news reporter for The Guardian. You've done such great work on this case. Thank you for coming on Opening Statements this morning. We'll look forward to talking with
you. All right, what's next? Come on. All right, we already saw this guy dressed.
From our Robbery Homicide Division Homicide Special Section immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city.
Because at the appropriate time, the actual...
Oh, trust me, Deb, I do know that. There's no correcting some people that just think they know it all, so it's all good. Cool Chris says, Jay, I think your whole vibe, I binge watch a bunch of videos, especially the Rebecca Park methness. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. We don't care. We'll just piss off the haters more.
Evidence involved in this case will be presented in a court of law.
Yeah.
So there's a major shakeup in the murder case for Nick Reiner as his attorney, Alan Jackson, resigns from leading the defense team.
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation he's provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be.
And again, when he says he has no choice, I absolutely think that the no choice means two things, and I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's money, and I think it's emotions by the family. And yes, Mom, yes, they're idiots. Hashtag crusty boots. Thank you, Sven. I appreciate that. Love your channel. Thanks for your hard work, Jay. Well, thank you. Nikki just wants me to say choo choo. Right? Stern's lost money. I know, exactly, Janet. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
The Public Defender's Office has been notified. We've had conversations with them. They are here. They're staffed.
This is the second time they've delayed, by the way.
They're ready to take over. My understanding is they're ready for the appointment committee.
This internet is trash today.
Deputy Public Defender.
Come on.
Kimberly Green, who serves in Los Angeles County, this is her, is now taking over as the lead defense attorney for the 32.
So this is going to be his new public defender, guys. And according to Foxy, which must be according to, on paper, right? You say she's one of the best public defenders to handle this. Is that what you said, Foxy? And yes, thank you, Valerie. It's not as simple as just financial. All right. But this is going to be his new public defender versus having the guy that's suited and booted wearing a $5,000 tailored suit. It's probably more than $5,000 a pop. I know she doesn't look excited and she doesn't look aggressive as Foxy says she is. Interesting.
2-year-old Nick Reiner, whose arraignment was postponed again. Now it's going to happen on February 23rd. So a lot of people buzzing about what comes next. Why did Alan Jackson withdraw? Okay, that's privileged information, as he indicated to both the court, who knows, they had chambers discussions, meaning behind closed doors with the judge, but to the public, he can't reveal why. But we can draw on our experience and provide some educated guesses as to why. So to help me do that, let's bring in our legal analyst guest this morning, attorney John Phillips, who is a celebrity attorney, does criminal defense work as well as civil work.
All right, so we're going to finish with this part. You guys are killing me. I look up and I see she looks thrilled. And then the next one says, Pauly Shore. Oh my goodness. 19 years of experience. She's not aggressive. She's the most experienced. Well, I think aggressive comes with experience. So whatever. Sunshine lady, good evening. It's Anna. Hope you and your family are doing well. Sunshine, right back at you. All the personal stuff in the console. Yeah, you could keep going on and on about that, right, Deb? Crazy. My daughter got to chat with her. Oh, interesting. Well, she's experienced. That's good to know.
Okay, John. So your initial thoughts after hearing what Alan Jackson said to the court?
All right, so that's the last part of this conversation is what's next, and then we'll move on.
What do you think was going on there?
I've been making a lot of notes, so I'm going to start with this press conference, and don't. I hope I don't get your questions out of order. But he said twice, pursuant to the law, pursuant to the California law. He didn't say his client was innocent or his soon-to-be former client. So that kind of tells us there's going to be a premeditated dispute, right? A dispute over premeditation. And then what he told the court, and basically how these things work is when you're trying to discuss attorney-client privileged information, you go into an ex parte room with consent with the judge and say, Judge, he can't pay me. Or, Judge, this is my issue with a conflict. But I think we can draw on the conclusion that he's indigent enough to have a public defender, that Alan Jackson, as much as he may want to take this case, can't afford for his team to be able to take this case and operate at their standards financially.
Sure. That is a very real possibility, John, that Nick Reiner may not be able to afford.
But also, he wasn't going to initially be able to afford that person, Alan Jackson, anyway. Because when I initially came out with the news that Alan Jackson was defending Nick Reiner, the decision was based on his siblings not wanting to lose their mother, father, and brother with threats from the prosecutor of the death penalty. All right. And now that we know that it's the death penalty is not, they can overturn it, but they're not doing the death penalty right now. Knowing that and knowing all the information that we do now, it's a different decision. And again, it's based on financial and emotional. Sunshine lady just became a new member. Thank you. Yeah, it would be. It would probably be terrible to defend people that you know are guilty and demons. Well, they justify it somehow.
The legal fees. That is quite frankly very possible. So that could be one possibility. Number one, it could be money that caused this. Number two, John, what do you think about a conflict of interest? You know, when a firm has to look at who they've represented in the past, and if there's anybody who's going to come up as a witness or someone in the case, and there's a conflict that you just can't get around. Wondering if could that be it? He didn't say the word conflict, although I don't know why he wouldn't. If it was truly a conflict, I'm more inclined to think it.
Well, he needs to preserve the case. You cannot say something like that. If you even say it's a conflict of interest and people presume what the conflict of interest is, presumptions can get you prosecuted. So I think with his experience, he understands that's not good to say. And so he's going with, hey, write this down. You know, he's had to have received a retainer by now. And he at least has started a social media campaign that Nick Reiner is not guilty. Look at her face. She's like, really?
It was your first guess, money, but would you speak to that? You think it could be a conflict of interest?
Yeah, the two things that I would analyze on conflict of interest is one, again, he's going from a paid, expensive attorney to public defender, which requires indigency. So that tips me away from that. But second, when we're doing conflict checks before we get involved, and we're required by every bar in the country to do a conflict check, we're supposed to do that before we start representation. Certainly conflicts can arise midstream, but on a high profile case, you know, let's say when I was representing Joe Exotic, I'm not running around, grabbing other tiger cases or representing the prosecutor or you stay linear. You keep your oath of loyalty to this client. And so I don't think a conflict arose. Now it could be that one was pointed out. Oops, I forgot, or my partner represented this, Rob, the decedent. But again, I think if that were the case, they would hire another high-profile attorney.
Right.
Yes. There you go. So we can take a couple of things off the table, maybe. That's right. That's true. Why would they assign him? And they planned this out. They obviously planned it before because the public defender was there in court and she was introduced. Very true. They would probably hire a Timu lawyer, right? If you look at this guy, and he's a Hollywood lawyer, and you look at him next to Alan Jackson, he's like the Timu version with his comb over and his suit. It's pretty funny. I'm sorry, Mr. Sir, whatever your name is, but it's just funny. Don't comb your hair over like that, okay? Take advice from Alan Jackson here.
Right, John. That's a really good point. Let's go back to that press conference, hear a little bit from Alan Jackson.
Circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank,
take it to the bank so we can bounce. I like how somebody said that, right? Philip Dubé is fabulous too, but he's not a Timu lawyer like the other guy. They knock off Alan Jackson, Timu lawyer. Sorry, not sorry. Can't comb your hair over like that. Just let it go. Let it go. I know. I feel you about that. I knew right away that when Alan Jackson was taking it, he said, this is going to make all the Hollywood headlines. I'm going to be right in there. And the family just didn't want their brother to get the death penalty. Quite frankly, they said that.
Pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that.
Okay, so let's unpack his two main points here. So starting with the latter about Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Alan Jackson choosing his words very carefully here. He's not saying he's innocent. He's not saying he didn't do these crimes. He's not guilty of murder. John Phillips, what did you think when you heard that?
There's another little clip where he twice says, under the laws of California. And he punctuates it with, print that, not guilty of murder. And again, for the first degree murder charge that he has under California, it requires premeditation. And whether they're going to go that there was no premeditation, that this was a heat of passion issue that arose, or a mental health issue, those would make you not guilty of murder. And so,
it's still hard to say a heat of passion, guys. You know why? Because wouldn't he have done that on the way home? Wouldn't he have done that at the party? Why? What difference would it make? He's mad at the party and he's pissed off. And I mean, I just don't get it. Heat of passion, it just doesn't seem like that. I want to marry the Timu lawyer just because of the hair. Just kidding. Perhaps Reiner's had Alan on a retainer, a speed dial in preparation of Nick effing up. That's how he got Alan. And that's what I'm saying. I think that the family knew Alan Jackson. I absolutely think that family had ties already with Alan Jackson, and they knew, right? And Maggie, yes, that staircase, the whole thing is wild. How he gets convicted and then gets off. Yes. All right. I think so too. I think the retainer ran out. They weren't going to make another payment. They were not going to pay for those expert witnesses to tell them what they already know. Right? He's crazy, but he's guilty.
What Alan Jackson says in a press conference, look, he knows it. He's done it. And the one thing he's not going to say is, I'm not going to represent this man because he can't pay me at my standards, right?
Right. He won't say that.
You'd never do
if
that.
That's the case. Right.
And so here you are with a very emphatic, and that's again another reason I don't think it's a conflict of interest issue. It's a very emphatic, continued, loyalty to his case. While he, professionally just Homer Simpsons it into the bushes. It happens. My problem over the course of 25 years, besides my hair getting curly in the back and who knew, but my problem over 25 years has been taking cases that were for the right.
And then he talked about his hair, guys. We're sitting there talking about the comb over, and he's talking about the curls on the back of the hair that shouldn't even be there. If he didn't know what he was doing, why would he wait until they were asleep? Yes. Why would he wait until they got home, right? Wasn't allowed to use 10,000 since he hasn't been convicted yet. I don't know about the 10,000. Now, Sunshine Lady, you're absolutely right. In California, based on the law and not being able to get money if you take the life of your person or people, but that wasn't the case because the siblings were committed to getting their brother out of this mess and not getting the death penalty. And according to according to a source, they said that they were using the grandpa's inheritance that the children had. All right. So he absolutely has the inheritance. He's part of that, but they don't have to use that and they can say no. Right. I love the pause picture. He talks about his hair.
Right reasons. And then all of a sudden you're 5 years in and you're pro bono to 1,000 hours. And it's fine for the attorney, but when you're doing paralegals and experts and all of that, it'd probably be best in this interest for him to be declared indigent and have the state help pay for his defense, right?
Right, John. I think you hit the nail right on the head with that maybe if it was a simpler case, like maybe something, really, really simple, like a, retail theft case or something, where you wouldn't need lots of experts and investigations and lots of money spent outside. You could cut your costs as the lawyer, but the outside money is what would really be tough. And it just may not be there. I think you're right, John Phillip.
All right, so we have a really solid understanding of this case, I hope, after today, and the reason why many experts, many lawyers, many people agree that it has to do probably with a bit financial and a bit of maybe a conflict of interest, maybe the family decided to back out, but I think you guys have a better understanding of it, and I think this is going to be the direction that we're headed. And February 23rd, we're going to see this thing move forward. Now, they're going to go for that defense, I'm sure. All right. I'm sure they're going to go for, he's all but telling us that he was going to go for the not guilty by reason of insanity. All right. He's not been convicted yet, but his inheritance may be gone. Yeah, but in the beginning, the family members already confirmed that there was an inheritance from grandpa that they were going to use. They didn't specify that he spent his and they weren't gonna use it because his was gone or whatever. I don't think that's the case, but all things are on the table. All right, guys. So that's that. Why Nick Reiner's lawyer quit, insanity defense, signals a not guilty plea, and the shocking cause of death that I hadn't got to tell you about, the neck slashed and dying within minutes of each other. Now we're gonna get to, and we don't have a mugshot. I don't know why this is so hush hush. Again, the judge sealed the cause of death and the documents for the death certificates. They released it on December 23rd, and then they sealed it. So I don't know. Have you seen one? I haven't seen one. I have not seen a mugshot. No matter what, in some manner, he's going to be found guilty. Why not save money as long as a death penalty? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how rich people think. But that being said, we're going to stop on this one. I'm going to give you guys an update now on the Melody Buzzard case that nobody's talking about, and I really want to get to. So that way tomorrow we can do a different show and we can have call-ins. All right? So let's palate cleanse. Nick Reiner's lawyer quit. We know that. Alan Jackson gone. Insanity defense on the horizon. Now, preliminary hearing in the Melody Buzzard murder case is still months away, but Ashley Buzzard was in court yesterday, and I'm going to show you what happened. I'm going to tell you. All right, so let's take a look at Krusty the Clown for a moment. All right, let me kind of zoom in on that. I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll watch her. Can you guys see? Can you see this image of her? Her hair is growing out, and she looks terrible. You're welcome, Saucy. All right, so now we're switching over to Krusty the Clown, Melody Buzzard's murder, allegedly Ashley Buzzard. All right, didn't you say if you red rum your parents? Yes, that's California. In California, someone just brought that up. What is the name of it? There's a law. I just can't remember it right this second. You guys will tell me. Yeah, you can't get inheritance if you take the life of your parents. All right, in California. Got an update on the Dennis case if you're interested. Yeah, Valerie, please send it over. I also got a few other updates in that case, but email me, guiltyofcrimeby@gmail.com, in the Tepe murder case. All right, now we're going to Ronald freaking McDonald. Thank you. Slayer Law. Yes. All right, now we're talking about Melody Buzzard and Ashley Buzzard. She does, Deb. She looks like Carrot Top. Does anyone know who Carrot Top is? All right, let's keep going. Oh, you have to be convicted. Well, yeah, well, he doesn't have access to it, and he has a public defender now. Okay, preliminary hearing in the Melody Buzzard case is months away. Ashley Buzzard was in court yesterday, guys. All right, she was in court. She showed up. Her hair's getting longer than ever, and I'm here for it because she's a monster. Okay, today's January 8th, 2026. This came out last night, January 7th at 8:54 p.m., right? We're in California, and this case happened in California, in Lompoc, California, right near Santa Barbara. So the Vanderburg Village woman charged with planned killing of her daughter, Melody Buzzard, last fall appeared before a judge and packed the courtroom in Lompoc on Wednesday. That was yesterday. It was Ashley Buzzard's second court appearance since her December 23rd arrest. Buzzard wore a maroon shirt with white polka dots and was not in handcuffs. She did not make eye contact with the members of the public. She showed no visible emotion and spoke by only responding to yes, which we have the video I'm going to show you in a minute. The 40-year-old is being held without bail in Northern Branch Jail in Santa Maria on charge of first degree and a special allegation of discharge of a firearm causing the death and special circumstance of murder by lying in wait in connection of the October 9th shooting death of her 9-year-old daughter, Melody, in Utah. Now, I hope everybody knows what lying in wait means. Okay, lying in wait means that it was planned. It's like a premeditated thing, and she didn't see it coming. Melody didn't see, and thank God, guys, I got to tell you, I was very concerned when I heard that Melody Buzzard was shot in the way that she was. The first thing I said was, I hope she didn't see her mother pull that trigger. I hope she doesn't realize that the last person that took her life or the last person that caused her pain was her mother. She was so excited looking. She didn't look like she was upset. She had her wig on. She was traveling with her mom. They rented a car. Maybe her mom told her we're going to go on a girls' road trip. But instead, she shot her daughter to death from behind. All right. Now, Krusty the Clown, Ashley Buzzard, has pleaded not guilty. In court yesterday, it was revealed that Buzzard's preliminary hearing will not take place before April after she waived her 60-day right to a preliminary hearing. Melody's paternal grandmother, Lily, was among those in the courtroom. That's awesome. She's been there. She used to raise her. You remember? She raised Melody, and then she had to give her back, and they were still trying to get visitation. I don't know what was going through her mind that she didn't, or that she did what she did, says the grandma, but she could have gave us the baby. The courtroom was filled with family and community members wearing shirts with Melody's face as the case moved into the next legal phase. Community members said that their presence was meant to keep Melody at the center of the proceedings. They say, we're hoping that in Ashley Buzzard's peripheral, she's seeing her daughter, that she's seeing this, her beautiful little face, says Elizabeth Alvarez. Now, Grandma also shared that she had been in conversation with Lori Miranda, Ashley's mother, and says they're talking about a mutual pain they share. Right now, we saw Lori Miranda previously, Ashley's mother. She did an interview and said that she would go over to Ashley and Melody's house, and Ashley had mental problems. She was trying to feed her kids rotten food that was in the fridge. All right. She sent me a message saying, God help us. She put in my message, and I said, yes, I'm sure she's hurting the same as I am, but She's hurting for her daughter, and I'm hurting for my grandbaby. All right, now listen, the defense is requesting that a permanent gag order be issued in this case. If that happens, guys, then we aren't going to have many updates in this case. Okay. Now we want updates. She honestly doesn't seem like she gives a damn. I know. Oh, that makes me so mad. Okay. Now the defense they want a gag order, which means that we won't see a lot if that happens, along with that emotion regarding details from the warrants that the defense would like to obtain. That's expected to be heard during the hearing on January 21st. Buzzard has a new public defender on yesterday, which Santa Maria-based attorney Michael B. Clayton said is a common in complex cases, and noted defense's decision to waive Buzzard's 60-day right to a speedy preliminary hearing. It allows more time for the evidence. Also, guys, I'm not reading, but it's a tactic. When you have a stall tactic like that, a lot of times you get less time. Now, the defense is probably doing everything they can to get evidence together to show that she didn't do it, and that's why they need extra time, said Clayton, who is not involved in the case. He also added that they requested for a permanent gag order is aimed at protecting the jury pool, which makes sense. You're tainting the jury pool by continuing to talk about the case in the press, said Clayton. He also explained the defense's pursuit of a Hobbs motion, which seeks to access sealed search warrant materials. We want to unseal the search warrant because we want to find out who the confidential informant is, Clayton said. Who's the one they're relying on for the probable cause? That's the Hobbs motion. All right. Buzzard was focused on a multi-state investigation after school administrators in Lompoc notified Santa Barbara County Office of Melody's prolonged absence back in mid-October. Authorities said Buzzard was uncooperative, providing no information as to her daughter's whereabouts. You guys know that. She was cutting out faces and putting them in the house and making little shrines of her daughter that we now know is dead by her hands. Now, Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown said it's believed that Buzzard shot Melody in the head during a multi-state road trip and left her daughter's body in a remote area of Wayne County, Utah. Melody's remains were discovered in early December, guys, but they didn't tell us about it until recently. They had to identify her by DNA. Now, Clayton shared what he expects next in the case. He says cases like this, the judge will want to see a preliminary hearing within 6 to 8 months, no more than a year, and it will take a while to pull all the evidence together to put together the preliminary hearing, he said. All right, that's Melody Buzzard here, reported missing October 15th. May she rest in peace, you guys. Take a second to say a prayer, all right? And we still have 101 people in here. I guess some people don't want the update. We haven't even got to see the clown yet. All right. So I'm not going to go over all this, the timeline. It's pretty crazy. I'll probably get back into that, but I want to show you her in court so you can see Krusty the Clown. All right, let's get into it. And then we'll be done. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you.
A Lompoc courtroom was packed with people on Wednesday, many wearing shirts with Melody Buzzard's photo as her mother appeared for another court hearing. I'm community reporter Crystal Bermudez, and I was in the court when lawyers and a judge discussed the next steps in the murder case. Ashley Buzzard, charged with the murder of her 9-year-old daughter, Melody, walked into court without...
Doesn't she look like Krusty the Clown, guys? I know, poor Melody. I gotta just make fun of her. It makes me feel better about her. Now, again, she's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, but I just don't like her. I can't believe she did that to her daughter. I know. You know, I was gone a lot last week, and this week, you guys, when we have a little bit of people in here, it's awesome because I get to pay more attention to you individually. But I think I got dropped out of the algorithm. Since the last couple of weeks, I only streamed a couple of times. She does. She looks like Orphan Annie. All right.
handcuffs, wearing a maroon shirt with white polka dots. She did not make eye contact with the public, showed no visible emotion, and the only word she spoke was yes when responding to the judge.
I don't know what's going through her mind that she did what she did, but she could have gave us a baby.
The courtroom was packed with family and community members, many wearing Justice for Melody shirts as the case moved into its next legal phase.
We're hoping that that she's seen her daughter, that she's seen this, beautiful little face.
Wednesday's hearing was not a preliminary hearing, but a preliminary hearing setting where a judge began laying out what comes next. In court, a new public defender was seen representing Buzzard, who waived her 60-day right to a speedy preliminary hearing, opening the door for the case to extend into the spring. Santa Maria-based attorney Michael B. Clayton, who is not representing Buzzard, says this is common in complex cases.
The defense is probably doing everything they can to get evidence together to show that she didn't do it, and that's why they're needing the extra time.
I mean, I really hope that she gets locked up for the rest of her life without parole. What she did to that little girl it makes me sick, guys. It makes me physically sick to think about her lying in wait after telling her daughter, we're going on a girls' road trip. And again, I don't know what she said, but she had that little girl going and renting a car and going on a road trip, so excited. I have an 11-year-old daughter that gets excited if I say I'm going to take her to 7-Eleven. This little girl thought she was going on this adventure, and then her mom shot her in the head behind her back. All right? Just disgusting.
The defense is also pursuing a Hobbs motion, a legal request to review sealed search warrant materials, and asking for a permanent gag order, limiting what law enforcement can say publicly about the case. For now, a judge has allowed that gag order to remain in place.
You're tainting the jury pool by continuing to talk about the case to the press.
Clayton tells me what he expects.
And I'm going to pause it there for a second because that's what I was referring to. She's got this little girl, Melody. You can see her. She's so cute, so cute. She's got her hoodie and her purse. And I feel like she's excited to go out of town with her mom that thinks she's all dolled up. And then this, yes, Cool and Chris. It's sad how it makes me see the grandma and sickening that her crusty ass idiot. She made a pillow doll out of her daughter and she cut out the pictures. They put missing signs on the front of her house and she took them all down, cut out the faces and made a shrine. That's disgusting. I know Melody is adorable. And when you have a child that's close to that age, it's hard to talk about. Ugh. Just like the Madeline Soto case.
Next.
Cases like this, the judge will want to see a preliminary hearing within 6 to 8 months.
There she is down. There she is taking all the missing posters. Where's Melody? Cutting them out and bringing them in the house.
No more than a year, less than a year. And it takes a while to pull all that evidence together to be able to put on that preliminary hearing.
Melody's paternal grandmother, Lily Dennis, tells me she's talked to Lori Miranda, Ashley's mother, and says they've talked about the mutual pain they share.
She sent me a message, God help us. She put in my message. And I said, yes. So I'm sure she's hurting the same as I am, but she's hurting for her daughter.
I'm
hurting for my grandbaby.
I know.
Buzzard is due back in court on January 21st when a judge could confirm a date for her preliminary hearing. In Lompoc.
Yeah, maybe I'll update you all on the January 21st one and then I can just run it as one episode. But May Little Melody Buzzard, rest in peace. All right, this is just, it's a lot. I don't like it.
Christopher Bermudez, KSBY News.
All right, so that was that. Her preliminary hearing was pushed out, and we got to see Krusty the Clown. There's a picture of her right there for y'all. She looks terrible, and we now know why she was wearing wigs in the way that she did. She's an awful human being, and I don't really care how she looks. I just don't like what she did. All right, the grandmother wanted her. Now, guys, I don't know if some of you guys know this or not, but the grandmother had custody of Melody. She had her until she was like 8 years old. And then this lady, this monster came back and got her and kept her away from the family. Right? She didn't even have her that long. And then she killed her. Is it that hard? I know. Jamie Casey, I wish they'd do a Utah. Yes, a lot of you guys are talking about this. A lot of you guys, and I'm with it. They found the body in Utah. So technically FBI joined this case, and they can prosecute her outside of California if they wanted to. In Utah, we're talking about the death penalty, right? Them girls in jail will fix that hair for her. It's the chupacabra. And Kathleen says Melody was beautiful. I know. But you guys, I mean, now all we can do is follow this next date, January 21st, 2026. And then I have a feeling she's going to do a lot of delays in order to, right, to keep herself out as long as she can without being sentenced. All right, guys, that brings us to the end. Today, we talked about why Nick Reiner's lawyer, Alan Jackson, quit. Is it insanity defense on the horizon with a not guilty plea, shocking cause of death, and then the Melody Buzzard case and the update, Ashley Buzzard in court will be back in on the 21st. I'll just say a couple of weeks. All right, guys, I don't know where else y'all are headed off to or where you came from, but I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime. If you're new here or you're on the rewatch crew, hit that like button. If you see the hype video, press that and share with your friends and the community. Thank you so much. Great love as always. And everybody else, have a wonderful night. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys for helping towards the goal. We're gonna get back to it, guys. We're gonna get to it. I'll get me back in the algorithm. Tomorrow night, we're going to do a special episode on Madeline Soto. Okay. And if you guys want, we can do a call-in show where you guys tell me what your thoughts and feelings are on the case and where it's left off. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. Krista, thank you for being here. Everybody that rolled in late, thank you, and thank you. Much love to you, and I'll see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Good night, guys. Love you.
Guilty of Crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of Crime.